श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So Vijay Sundaram ji, if you can unmute yourself. Okay. So we will chant from 54. Arjuna uvacha
अर्जुन उवाच
स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा
स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा
समाधिस्थस्य केशव
समाधिस्तस्य केशव
स्थितधीः किं प्रभाषेत
स्थितधि किं प्रभाषेत प्रभाषेत
किमासीत व्रजेत किम्
किमासीत व्रजेत किम्।
श्रीभगवानुवाच
भगवान् उवाच
प्रजहाति यदा कामान्
प्रजहाति यथा कामान्
सर्वान् पार्थ मनोगतान्
सर्वान् पार्थ मनोगतान्
आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः
आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः
स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते
स्थितप्रज्ञस्तथोच्यते
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः
सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः
सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः
वीतरागभयक्रोधः
वीतरागभयक्रोधः
स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते.
स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते.
Yeah. So, in chapter 2 is where Bhagavan Sri Krishna starts teaching, and that too because asked by Arjuna. Teaching never happens unless it is asked. And so even when we colleges advertise these days, but that's a new trend because there's competition. But otherwise, no professor is going to attract a student. And the student has to approach the college, sign up. Student has to go to school, sign up. And I want to do this. I am so and so. This is my background. And I've got a bachelor's. I want to register for a master's. This is how it works. No professor comes knocking on your door. Say, I am a physics teacher. I am a good biology teacher. I think you should study biology. Like that, there is no such thing. So only these other people keep knocking on our doors. And so have Arjuna asked the question, Shishyaste teham, I am your student. He makes a statement. He doesn't ask, can I be your student? He says, I am your student. Now I need to hear from you. Then and only then Krishna starts teaching. And then he goes on till verse number 53. Right? And that's when there seems to be a pause. Looks like Krishna has completed a big chunk of what he wants to say. And then Arjuna asks this question, tell me a little more about this wise person. And then now Krishna is answering that question, Sthita Pragyasya Ka Bhasha. That is being Samadhistasya Keshava Sthitadih Kim Prabhasheta Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim. How does a wise person talk, sit, speak, etc.? And so sometimes we have something in mind and we don't know what it is. We don't know how to express it. Or we are not clear what is there in our mind. We just don't know. We don't know what to ask. All these things are there. So Arjuna is in that kind of a position. And so Krishna is responding to that question. So sometimes when we hear somebody ask a question, we have to go behind the question to that person. And what exactly the person is asking? What can be the doubt of the person? Because the question, the way it is asked, it sounds a little odd. So it is a good listener, a good teacher will always go to the person and then find out what exactly the person is wanting. And answer that question. And if the teacher is not clear, the teacher can ask, can you ask the question again differently? Then another data point comes, and then by then some clarification will come to the teacher. So teacher has to get clarified before the student gets clarified. This is important. Yeah, otherwise wasted words. And then he's asking something and you're telling him something else, and then now confusion is now big. Real confusion happens. Nobody's enlightened. So therefore here Shankara says, the literal question cannot be answered. How does a wise person walk? How does a wise person talk? So what kind of answer can that be? That is not the point. So tell me more about a wise person. This knowledge that you have talked about, it's so profound. And so how does it impact the life of a person who has got this knowledge? Tell me that. So in that train of thought, so 55, Prajahati Yada Kaman. So one who apparently gives up all desires. That's a very bold statement here. We saw that. So we saw that one who whose desires are no longer binding. Nobody can give up desires. Desires is a shakti. To talk is a desire. Only a desire to talk will make a person talk. A desire to sit will make a person sit. Desire to stand. I've been sitting for the last 2 hours. I feel like standing up and taking a walk. Desire is there. So without desire, there is no human being. And so here we have to look at it as desires are no longer binding. We saw that, all that a few classes ago. Then we were at this 56. Dukkeshvanudvigna manaha. This is where we were discussing last class. Dukkeshu anudvigna manaha. Sukheshu vigata sprihaha. Vitaraga bhayakrodaha. That is one word. Sthitadhihi. Another word. Munihi. Uchyate. Uchyate. So we started discussing this, and Krishna is again defining who this Sthita Prajnaha is by using a different word, Sthitadihi, which also Arjuna had already used in his question. Same word he's using here. And so he's saying, who is a wise person? Who is that person who is a Sthitadihi? One whose knowledge is firm, one who is crystal clear about the vision. Okay. So we saw Dukkeshu Anudvigna Manaha. So Udvigna Manaha, that's the word here. One who is not shaken. That is Udvigna Manaha. That it refers to a person. Okay. That one whose mind is not shaken by what? Dukkeshu. That is called Dukkeshu. Udvigna Manaha means shaken. Anudvigna Manaha means not shaken. So an is the negative particle, in Sanskrit, Hindi, etc. It happens. So Atma is there, Anatma. So that it can be a negative particle. An also will be a negative particle. Like Vicharaha is inquiry. Avicharaha is non-inquiry. You're talking without inquiry. That is why you're confused. So you better look into it. Do some Google search. Go through the Google and find out. You get some answers. So that's called avichara. Like that, becomes a negative particle. What about Atma? In front of Atma, if you put then nothing happens to Atma. Okay. It also plus Atma is also Atma only. Therefore, in Sanskrit, we have an. So Anatma. So, like in English also, escapable, unescapable, interrupted, uninterrupted, theist, atheist. So there it is versus un. So it seems to, we understand that. So here, Udvigna Manaha, because there is a vowel, the first letter is a vowel, the negative particle is un. So an. So opposite of Dvigna Manaha, one who is shaken, opposite of that is one who is unshaken. Unshaken in the presence of all causes of sorrow, Dukkeshu. Dukkeshu, plural. And we saw that last time also, the three sources of sorrow. And which means all sources of sorrow. Three sources of sorrow covers everything, right? Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Devika. There is no other source of sorrow. We've covered that. So, does the wise person experience pain? What happens to a wise person? This question can be there. So, there is a headache. Will the person experience the headache? Well, we'll have to start with basics. Does a person have a head? Yeah, that person has a head. Wise persons do have heads. Otherwise, this teaching, there's no chance of this teaching here. We can't be sitting here talking about Bhagavad Gita. So, person has a head. Okay, good. Then, next question. Will that head ache? Feeling the headache, we'll talk about later. Will that head ache? No, person is wise. So something different must happen, no? So all the biological systems readjust themselves, and then to say, oh man, this guy is too much, and we can't mess with this fellow, And so the head stops aching, kidneys suddenly start working, and all this knee arthritis disappears. Wow, that's amazing. I think if they had presented Bhagavad Gita like this, we would have a lot more students in our classes. And, uh, unfortunately, it is not like that. The body just takes its own little, it gives us surprises every morning. We get up and say, oh my God, what happened this time? So that is how the body is. So that Jnani's body also goes through the same processes like everybody else's body. And so the head will ache. Well, next third question. Will the person experience that pain? And we can't answer the question. We have to ask sannyasis only about this question. We have to ask them, we have to interview them. And they say, yeah, it does hurt. And then this verse is saying that when the pain occurs, that person is not affected. Body is affected, no doubt. We should not get away with all these funny ideas that the person is free of disease and this and that. Nothing. Disease has nothing to do with Vedanta. Vedanta is not medical science, okay? I think by now we understand that. So body, it takes its own, follows its laws, the laws that the body has to follow. Body is in pain. I remember this. The people, the Brahmanishtas, sannyasis, our Swamiji, I remember, they never talk about pain at all. They will be struggling. You can see cold, cough, fever, and everything. And they are sitting and having a satsang. Or okay, they may be resting, but they never talk about themselves. They only are available for you. This is just absolutely amazing. I used to wonder how this happens. And then there was a time in 2010 or so, 10 years ago, Swamiji had a lung problem. And so there was a time had come when the talk of surgery happened. Lung surgery. And so it's called some lobectomy or something like that, because these lungs have, I think they have lobes. One lung has 2 lobes, another lung has 3 lobes, I hear. And so the surgery for lung can happen for various reasons. So cancerous tissue can be there, or abscess, pus formation is there. So in this case, Swamiji had that abscess, and so surgery. And it seems this lung surgery is it's painful. The recuperation is, takes a long time, etc. And so he had the surgery done in Coimbatore, I remember. Then every December he used to visit the US, and then he comes to US. This surgery, he comes to US. Before the surgery also he was there, after the surgery he was there. And for the first time he came to the satsang, he was teaching, and the pain must have been so much. He said in the satsang, he said it, I have not experienced this kind of pain like that, he said. If Swamiji were to say that, I was thinking how it would be, what kind of pain that would be. So clearly, this wise person, all this experience of pain, everything is there, but I am not sorrowful. Despite me being in so much pain, I am not sad. Can any of us say that? Despite me being in so much pain, I am not sad. Sadness is the problem. Pain is never the problem. Think about it. Pain is definite. Nobody wants pain. I'm not saying we should invite pain. But do you see the difference between the two? That's the beauty. So Swamiji says the wise person is unaffected by pain. That's the meaning here. So dukkeshu anudvigna manaha. Okay. My neck is hurting, and I do all these things, and then I take some medicine, I apply some ointment, etc., and it doesn't go away. And then I talk to my family members. I keep telling everybody my neck is hurting, this, that. So I don't, and people say, yeah, come on, you've already taken some medicine, it'll be all right. So, and I don't keep quiet. I keep on talking about my neck pain. So previously I was the one who had the pain in the neck. Now I have become a pain in the neck for everybody. Everybody says you are a pain in the neck. So for me, so pain in the neck is you, and now you are a pain in my neck also. So this is our life. We are all like this, pain in the neck. He's a pain in the neck, they say. I don't know how that phrase came about. We need to look into that. I would be interested in knowing if some of you know it. Pain in the neck. So we become a pain in other people's necks very quickly. Doesn't take much. So wise person does not fall in that category. Okay. So dukkeshu anudvigna manaha. What about sukheshu? So now you understand. Sukheshu. Dukkeshu is there in the presence of adversities, in the presence of sorrowful situations that has the potential to cause sorrow. What about sukheshu? What does he say here? Krishna says, vigata spriha. Some people are very good. They are very stoic. So in the presence of very sad situations, they're just, they know, I will not yield. But then in the presence of happy situations, what happens? Then jumping up and down. So will a wise person laugh? Will the person express their joy in the presence of pleasant situations? Well, this is why we have satsangs with sannyasis and with people who we revere, and we come to understand that, yeah, they're very much like us when it comes to these things. So a wise person can laugh, can experience the joy that you are experiencing, but then the mind doesn't say, I want a repeat experience, encore. Mind doesn't say that. I wish every day was like this. I wish every class was like this. I wish all children were like that child. I wish my child was like that child. These ideas will not be there for a wise person. Because why should that idea not be there? Why pleasant experience is what we are all seeking. A pleasant experience. The person doesn't need a pleasant experience to be happy, because Atma's nature is Ananda. Therefore, Ananda Swarupaha. Where is the question of a pleasant experience? Pleasant experience comes, yeah, that's a Leela, Ishvara's Leela. And pleasant situations, unpleasant situations, yeah, the person does recognize the two situations. It's not like he's dumb. Vedantas make the person dumb, Dumb means everything is same. All situations are same. And weather is good, fine. It's a stormy day. I don't see any storms. I see only consciousness. This kind of idea, we don't go away with this idea. Yes, everything is Atma, true. But at the same time, the person is alive to realities, transactional realities. So, very important to recognize the desire to seek more and more of some experience is gone from a person. Because just Atmani eva Atmana tushtaha. previous shloka we have to go. Atmani eva atmana tushta. By oneself, in oneself, the person is happy. Very important. So here, Bhashikara, Shankaracharya gives an example. He gives the example of fire, Agnihi. Agnihi, he says, Na Agnihi iva indanadi adhane. He says that. The fire is there. You have a small flame, a matchstick. You light a matchstick, small flame is there, burns. And then it dies away after some time. Or a log of wood burns, gas burns. But on the log of wood, which is just simmering, some flame is there, you put some gasoline, you put some petrol, kerosene, you can see what happens. The fire doesn't say, wait a minute, you are disturbing me. The log and I, we are doing a dance here, and I want to spread slowly, don't disturb me. It doesn't say that. There is a conflagration. You put petrol, gasoline, and then it just catches fire. Fire never says enough. Never says enough. So, na agnihi iva, Shankara says. This wise person is not like that Agni, which always wants more and more, which never says no. So, that example Shankara gives. So, that Ananda resolves that experience of sorrow or experience of Ananda. It's not that the person doesn't experience sadness. So, we were having a class yesterday, and Swamiji was telling this once again, that some traumatic event happens, then how does the person deal with it? Sadness, immediately sadness is there. Sorrow, I mean, there is an unpleasant experience. Sadness is experienced. But then that is due to that is because of how life is. But then immediately the knowledge takes over. It says, yeah, this is how things are. And Ishvara's glory is at work. So, why should I not accept it? Why should I not accept it? See, look at that. Why am I not accepting it? Swamiji, long ago, I read a book by Swamiji. And there, Swamiji gives that example. The family went on a cruise. And this person gets the news. The man is there. He gets the news. He's not there in this cruise. He gets the news that the ship has capsized, and everybody is. There are no survivors. He gets the news. What? The ship is capsized. There are no survivors. Then he hears it. So what? Then he says, then they say, your family was in that ship. What? Your family was in that ship. So what? Your family is no more. What? Your family is no more. So what? Like this. Can somebody say this? From what to so what? That's what happens to the wise person. So what? Yeah, of course it's shocking, it's traumatic. So what? What can be done next? What should be done next? That can be a question. So that's the amazing vision, the strength that this vision provides. And so, dukkeshu anudvigna manaha, sukeshu. Then what about sukeshu? Vigata spruhaha. That's the word we're trying to look for here. So, spruha. Spruha means this love. I want some more of this experience. That is called spruha. Spruha means a desire for having, desire for something. In this case, a desire for a pleasant experience. And vigataha. Vigataha means gone. Gone. That kind of a desire for more is gone from the person. Doesn't mean the person is a stone. So hobo is just gone case. No, not gone case. The desires are gone. Desires are the gone case, not the person. The person is free. Person is free to have desires. The person is free to have even more desires. And whether the desires are fulfilled or not, the person is unaffected. So atmanyeva atmana tushtaha. Okay. Sukeshu vigata spruhaha. Now look. Vita raga bhaya krodaha. So here also you know all the words. Raga you know. Bhaya you know. Krodha you know. Vita means same. Vigata, same meaning. Okay. So, same meaning. Vita raga bhaya krodaha is like vigata raga bhaya krodaha. Exact ditto. So, that means raga bhaya krodha is gone from that person. That is the meaning of this word vita raga bhaya krodaha. Now, raga we've already seen. Raga dvesha. Karma yoga, we saw that. Karma yoga, that vision of karma yoga already gives the person so much strength that these raga dveshas, these likes and dislikes, of which I am a victim of often, I am no longer a victim of. To a large extent, the raga dveshas do not bite me. And for a jnani, of course, there is no chance of the bite. So, vita raga. Okay, the likes and dislikes are toothless, no longer biting. They're all there. That's why Swamiji says toothless. Likes and dislikes are there, but they're toothless. They cannot do anything to me. Now, bhaya. Bhaya is there. Very important. Fear is such a thing. It drives a lot of what we do. They say the stock market is driven by two emotions. What are the two emotions? Greed and fear. Greed and fear. These are the two emotions that drive the stock market. I thought that was a very interesting statement. So, fear is there in our lives. And this fear comes out of, see, psychology has a lot to say about fear, okay? Psychology, very big science, and we have, one of our friends, your classmates is there here. She's a PhD in psychology, Anjali Pinjala. We can hear from her someday perhaps about the modern field of psychology. And I'll talk about this, where psychology is and where Vedanta is. We'll have opportunities to discuss these things. So whenever there is a duality, when I say I'm afraid means what? What will you ask? You will ask, what are you afraid of? Correct? You have to ask the question. Afraid means what? You must be afraid of something. And I'm afraid that this will happen, that will happen. I'm afraid that by somebody can get sick. All these things, fear is there. I'm afraid of so many things. So afraid of means there must be a second thing in this world of which you are afraid of. There must be another thing besides me to be afraid of. And so that is where Dvaitaha is there. And so often Shankara will say, Dvaitathi bhayam bhavati. Bhayam bhavati. Fear happens. Fear exists. Why? Fear is caused. Why? It's caused by Dvaita. Caused by a second thing. It's a Vedantic way of saying that, right? So you go beyond the immediate cause and say, whenever there is a second thing, there is a fear. Which means if I split myself away from the whole, and if I take myself to be this entity, small entity alone, then there is no way I can be free from fear. Correct? Fear is constantly going to be there. I may be very good at managing my fears. Okay? So I've got my ways of managing it. I'm doing my puja, prarthana, everything. And I'm carefully planning things out. So I have my way of managing fears. But I can only manage fear. Correct? The management of fear. But then Swamiji says here, Shankara says, whenever I separate myself from Ishvara, that is how duality starts. I am separate from Ishvara. That's very obvious. How can you be Ishvara? Not possible. I am separate from Ishvara when I say, that means what? I am separate from the entire world. I am looking at this world. I am of course separate from the world. And of course I am separate from every other being in this world. You are different, I am different, everybody is different, and we are all competing against each other. And anybody can be a threat to me. Therefore, this dvaitati bhayam bhavati. Very important to remember here. Dvaitati bhayam bhavati. So fear comes from duality. This is to be carefully understood. The other is always there. When the other is there, the fear is always going to be there. And that is why Swamiji here gives an example that sometimes I am afraid of myself also. Is it possible to be afraid of oneself? So, means past some experience may have been there, experiences, traumatic experiences. We may not be comfortable. We may not be comfortable dealing with certain questions, certain discussions, we get uncomfortable. Correct? And why should I be uncomfortable? Because there is something about it that makes me just restless. That's why sometimes when we see a deranged person, mentally deranged person, we get afraid. So Swamiji says, hey, there is a split personality in myself. There is a side of me that I have not yet embraced. Right? Embraced. That there is some unwept sorrow. Unwept sorrow is there. So I am running away from that. And when I see it in front of me, I am scared. So this fear comes. That's why we need to assess ourselves on these matters too. Emotionally, we need to look at ourselves, and wherever there are issues, we need to carefully address them, come face to face with them, and you do prayers, specific prayers, and there are a lot of things we can do to free ourselves from this emotional knots that are there in our heads, So fear of myself, fear of my own past, all this is there. So once I resolve all that, there cannot be any more fear. Okay. So therefore, the one who sees no duality, as Krishna has taught, is not only free from ragadvesha, but free from the fear also. Vita raga, vita bhaya. Okay, vita bhaya. Now anger, krodha means anger. We all know that. I think there is, I have to guess that every language, Indian language, krodha must mean anger. Krodha must be there. We may not use it. In Tamil, we say kovam. Kopaha. Kopamu in Telugu they say. Hindi में क्रोध बोलते हैं. Kop also is there. I think kopa is there. In Sanskrit, kopa is also krodha. So it must be there. Kopa must be there. So these words are all there. Now later on, Krishna is going to say in this chapter, in verse number 62, he's going to say, Kamat krodho bhi jayate. He's going to say that krodha comes from kama only. From desire. Desire causes anger. So we discussed this sometime earlier also. And so you are welcome to desire anything you want. But if the desire is not getting fulfilled, then we get frustrated. The frustration, the frustration becomes anger. Anger at the things that are obstructing me, separating me from my object, the object of my desire. Okay, we discussed this last time. And so anger, kama, anger. So that is why sometimes, the people whom we love the most are the people on whom we are angry the most also. Can you see this irony? It's so amazing it is, right? And we are angry with our own people. That's very sad, I think. We're angry with our own people. Because I think we have so many expectations of the people. You can't expect from a stranger. You don't have any expectations from a stranger. That's why a stranger doesn't make you angry. But the people in my own home, and I have so many expectations, so I can get upset by them. So krodha is there. Kamat krodho bijayate. Kama is the cause for anger, and so that is why the people. That's why this. That's why the movie themes. The fellow loves this lady, this girl, and loves her, and then you find that the guy has murdered her. What? How is it possible? Well, he doesn't murder the lover. He murdered the obstinate lady. He murdered the obstinate lady, and then he cries for the lover afterwards. Swamiji says that. So two people, he divided the person into two. I love you, and then I hate you. The hater I abuse, and the lover I love, I like. So this split comes in all these situations. And so krodha, kamat krodho vidhyayate. Very important. We'll cover it again when Krishna brings that up. Okay, so we covered raga, bhaya. We are talking about krodha, and here again, that we need to spend a little time on this duality. Dvaitathi bhayam bhavati, I mentioned. And so that seeker-sought relationship is always there. Seeker-sought. Whenever there is a desire, I am the desirer. I want something which I don't have. And so there is the split between the seeker and the sought. And that's why in a moment of happy experience, when you are watching TV and you're just laughing away at a joke that somebody cracked, you're watching this comedy show, at that time the seeker-sought relationship does not exist. That is what gives this happy experience, joyful experience. You want nothing at that point. Even though the body is aching and I've got this, I have to do that. So many things are there, okay, to be done. But then how you are happy? When so many unfulfilled desires are there. See, if somebody says, I have to fulfill my desires in order to be happy, we will refute that statement in 1 second. Okay, you have so many desires to fulfill. Only then you will be happy. Then how come you are happy? When you listen to my joke and you smile like this, ha ha ha, how it is possible? Tell me how it is possible to be happy. That itself tells me that I don't have to fulfill all my desires in order to be happy. Correct? So important. With these experiences, we need to hang on to. We need to meditate on them and slowly let go of our notions we have. And so therefore Swamiji says here that split that I make even the slightest split, even if I say I am part of Ishvara, okay, even if I say Ishvara is too big, he's just Jagat Karta, Jagannatha. Hey Jagannatha, my namaskars to you. You are too vast. I'm so happy that I'm part of you. Okay. I am part of you. If you say, then you are separating yourself from Ishvara. Okay, Swamiji makes it a point to say that. I've created a split. And so, and the Upanishads expect this kind of thinking. And Swamiji says that so much time is spent on this. That is why this split is so important to understand. And part of Ishvara is not enough. Not enough. Because then I will be angry with Ishvara at some time. Wait a minute. I thought you love me and I love you and I've done so much for you and now you are not taking care of me. Why did you send this coronavirus? Come, all these issues will come. So, even a minute division will create fear. And so then what happens in the shloka? Vita raga bhaya krodha. The person who is free from the raga, bhaya and krodha, binding desires, fear and anger. Stitadhihi munihi uchyate. Okay. Stitadhihi, we know that. Stita prajnaha, the person has knowledge, and that knowledge is unshaken. It is not some belief which can be shaken. Belief, however strong it is, can be shaken. If your good arguments are enough to shake the belief. Okay. So, like this person who visited me, and he with a Bible in his hand, and two people, young people, my God, they're college-going people, and they're supposed to be studying. They're sitting in my apartment. They're with a Bible in the hand. They're telling me about Jesus, and so I let them go for a while. I wanted to hear, the other side. We don't get to hear the other side that often. So why be upset? What am I going to get? They are not going to do anything to me. Suddenly I come with a cross in my neck. That risk is not there. For me, it is not there anyway. So I said, come on, chalo, do you want some coffee or tea? Can I? No, I don't want coffee. Because the pastor said, don't drink anything in their home. They must have said. So they're following all these instructions. And then they said a lot of things. And God will save you, Jesus will save you, and this and that. So I said, this Bible in that particular, I forget those numbers now. Those days I used to remember these numbers. And John, some verse number, this and that. He says, if you are a true believer, will also drink poison. And poison will not affect the true believer. So I will tell you what. I will follow Jesus. But only thing you have to tell me. You prove to me you are a believer, no doubt. I do namaskar to you. You are a believer. And just that proof, I'm so eager to see that Jesus will protect even the person from poison. I have some poison. And this toilet cleaner is there. So just some small demonstration. Just one spoon is enough. You don't have to drink the whole bottle. Okay. These fellows got up, and these fellows are looking at each other because they never heard this kind of argument before, and they walked away. So, however strong, they have a strong belief, no doubt. They have the right to believe that. But unfortunately, they are destroying the civilization with this kind of a belief. And however strong the belief it can be shaken. Can be shaken. Here, the knowledge can it be shaken? No. Why? Because it is knowledge. That is the definition of knowledge. Abaditam jnanam. That which cannot be shaken is knowledge. Therefore, stitadihi munihi. Krishna uses the word Muni. Look at that. Let's look at that word. Look at how important it is to understand these words, how beautiful it is. Munihi. Manana Shilaha Munihi. The one who has the capacity to do mananam. What is mananam? To think. Capacity to think. As simple as that. Think. Capacity to understand. That person is called Manana Shilaha. Munihi. Not belief. Everybody has a capacity to believe. But to think and process and then understand what is said. So that person, Munihi. And so here, Swamiji makes a point of saying, because this Jiveshwar Aikyam is a fact, according to Vedanta, it's a fact. And it is being proved in this teaching. Shri Krishna is proving to us. Because you cannot prove duality. You cannot prove duality. Even though this is a clock, and the clock is independent of me. The clock is running, and see, look at that. The clock is independent of me. It's an object. I got it from the table and put it here because I want to watch the time. And clock is independent of me. And all these objects are independent of me. Duality is there. You don't need Vedanta also. Even a physicist, a particle physicist will say, hey, you don't, even the physicist will say, I cannot prove duality. He will throw up his hands because everything is quark, is what he will say. Everything is atom. There is nothing. I don't see duality at all. This is what he will say. So duality cannot be proved, my dear. You have to split yourself. No object exists independent of something else. Go back to Satyam and Mithya discussion. Correct? Therefore, Swamiji says, Advaita being a fact, then Dvaita becomes belief. It is a belief. There are so many things in this world is a belief. It's not Satyam. It's a belief. It so happens that everybody believes the same thing. Therefore, we pass away as very intelligent people. Correct? What is the definition of intelligence? You are as confused as I am. Therefore, you are also intelligent. I am also intelligent. We can compare our intelligences and then we can say I am smarter than you or you are smarter than me. That's it. What a wonderful world we live in, isn't it? So that is that Munihi. Munihi, one who knows, one who has the capacity to know and therefore knows. That person is called a Sthitadhihi. So let's go back to the shloka here and review it one last time, translate it. Okay, the verb here is Uchyate. Last word in the shloka is the verb Uchyate. Very unlike English, right? In English, the last word cannot be a verb. Or can it be? I don't think so. I don't think a verb can take the last position in a sentence. There may be some exceptions, but I can't come up with any right now. So here, Uchyate. Okay. Uchyate is said to be. Okay. Then, what is said to be what? So let's look at that. Dukkeshu anudvigna manaha. The one who is not affected by adversities, affected by any source of sorrow. Okay, adversity means that which causes sorrow. So potential causes of sorrow. One who is not affected by that. Kama, sukheshu vigata sprihaha. Who is without a longing for pleasures, without a yearning for pleasures, without a aching. They say aching. Aching maybe is not a good word to use here. Maybe a colloquial usage. So without a longing, without a pining, yeah, that's another word they say. Pining for something, without a longing for pleasures. Kama Vitaraga bhayak krodha, and is free from longing, fear, and anger. So raga is longing here, or binding desires. That also is good. Binding desires, free from binding desires, fear, and anger. Comma, Sthitadihi Munihi Uchyate, is said to be a wise person, Munihi, whose knowledge is firm, whose knowledge stays, whose knowledge is unshaken. So, translating the whole shloka again, the one who is not affected by adversities, comma, who is without yearning for pleasures, yearning, Y-E-A-R-N, okay, not E-A-R-N, yearning or longing for pleasures, comma, and is free from longing, fear, and anger, comma, is said to be a wise person whose knowledge is unshaken. Okay. Okay, so let's chant this next shloka. Yeah. So Vaidya, we have not seen you in a long time. Yeah. So let's chant this one. 57. Yes sarvatra anabhisnehaha tat tat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratisthita yes sarvatra nabhisnehaha tat tat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratisthita. Yeah, so this we will cover in the next class. So here Krishna is saying that that attachment, that jnani is unattached to anything and everything. That is the summary of this shloka. We need to carefully understand what that is. Okay, we'll conclude now. Om swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini deshoyam kshobarahitah brahmana santu nirbhayah Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya Om purnamadah purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.